Welcome to New World Workforce, where we examine the latest trends having an impact on the way we earn our money and live our lives. I'm Parrish Murphy with co-host Nakia Edwards, HCC's Executive Director of Adult Education, who's going to tell everyone where you can find us.
Hey, Parrish, how are you today?
Good, good.
Awesome. So you can find us through social media on the Houston Community College District Facebook page, not HCC, and also YouTube. We're also on X, formerly known as Twitter, LinkedIn, and on HCC TV. You can also download an audio version of our shows for listening on the go at hccs.edu/podcasts.
Thank you, Nakia. Now, you may have heard the saying, everything old is new again. Apprenticeships is one of the oldest forms of job training. Now, some of you watching might say, isn't an apprenticeship and internship the same thing? Well, no, internships are usually shorter term, ranging normally from 1 to 3 months, whereas an apprenticeship is much longer, normally 1 to 3 years. In today's episode, we're going to explore a partnership between HCC and MD Anderson to see how apprenticeships may be the solution for a rapidly changing workforce. Today, we have Dr. Miranda Phillips, who is the Program Director for Workforce Innovations in the Education and Training Department of MD Anderson Cancer Center. How are you doing today, Dr. Phillips?
Wonderful. How are you?
Say that long title 3 times really fast.
I know, right?
Listen, thank you for joining us so much. And I want to just jump right in and ask you, why does an apprenticeship model work so well for the workforce pipeline now?
Well, right now, one thing that is wonderful for us with the apprenticeship model is that it gives us access to students who are already going through their didactic education programs. So a lot of our frontline healthcare programs, it is hard to fill those positions. And this partnership with HCC allows us access to students who are finishing that training, and then they can come to us for their apprenticeship year. And some of them have already gone through clinicals, some of them have already completed certifications, but they definitely have that extra training, so that we have access to great candidates through that pipeline.
Great. What's changed about the workforce, Dr. Phillips, within the last 10 to 15 years?
Well, I mean, I think COVID is a very recent, especially within the healthcare systems, has created a huge deficit in frontline healthcare workers, especially not just 10 to 15 years, but especially in the healthcare sector since COVID. But I mean, there's a skills gap everywhere, and a lot of these entry-level jobs and a lot of these areas that not just the healthcare industry, but in all these other areas where apprenticeship is helping to create pipelines, that we're seeing that high targeted areas.
Great. Now, tell us about the evolution of the partnership between MD Anderson and HCC.
Well, this was something that started a little over a year ago, last August, with Dr. Robinson. We reached out, she reached out, and we initially were discussing culinary, which I'll talk about in a moment, but we started with a phlebotomy pipeline, and what we really wanted to do was get one program established, and then we would look at what that looked like throughout the hospital, throughout the system. Like how can we serve other areas that are high need that we need to establish a pipeline for? So it started with our phlebotomy program. We set up an umbrella MOU so that we could add other pathways as the need arose, and we've added 2 pathways since, and now we are looking at adding another pathway in the next couple of months. We have a lot of ways in which our partnership can expand to not just the healthcare positions, not just front line healthcare positions, but also throughout the hospital, other areas, because there's high need, IT, like culinary, which is not healthcare, but it is an area that supports healthcare within our hospital. HR, there's so many different areas this could expand to.
Great. Now, how has this been embedded in the model that you have? I guess my question is, how has this been embedded into the hospital setting?
So right now we have phlebotomy and we've got CNA apprentices. And the way that that works is they finish their didactic training and then they start with us and they're an apprentice for a year. And it's very similar to someone that we would hire as a new CNA or a new phlebotomist, but they have so many more supports as an apprentice. The apprenticeship model comes with, we also have a partnership with Workforce Solutions so that qualifying students can also get support from a talent coach at Workforce Solutions, which helps to connect them to other resources. It helps connect them to coaching for soft skills, but it also keeps them connected to HCC so that when they have need for extra training, and I'll provide an example of that. We had, when we first started our CNA apprentice program, we realized early on that one of the areas that was really challenging was some of the charting, we have this software system that was very challenging to the apprentices, which is challenging to most starting CNA PCTs. So spoke with our partners at HCC, spoke with Dr. Robinson, and she said, hey, we can help with that. We can add another layer of training so that while they're onboarding, all the apprentices that come through HCC to MD Anderson will have a week of this software training so that they'll kind of have a leg up. They'll start and they will feel confident, they'll feel self-efficacy, they'll be able to already understand the charting system, which is a big obstacle for a lot of new employees. So this partnership really has allowed us to add those additional supports to help our incoming apprentices, which solves a big problem for us because I know in some of these frontline healthcare positions, we have a lot of attrition. So for example, the CNA apprentices are filling patient care tech positions, and that is a high turnover area. And a lot of reasons for this are because of those frustrations. Maybe new PCTs come in, they don't have those supports. Maybe they don't feel that kind of self-efficacy. Maybe they don't have those other wraparounds provided with apprentices. So this is hopefully going to solve some of that attrition problem and allow us to keep those employees and grow them. So
that's great. That's really great. Now, what efficiencies does this partnership create both for you and for the students?
Well, one efficiency for us is it gives us a direct access to students who are already interested in that field. So say you post a PCT position and you might get someone that is, oh, well, that's open, you know, I meet the requirements for it, but they might not have necessarily been thinking about the healthcare field. The students that we are recruiting from HCC to fill these apprenticeship positions are students who have shown an interest in healthcare. They've completed the CNA program. They're ready. So it's a new level of readiness. It's tapping into those interests. It's reaching a population that we haven't really reached before.
That is awesome. Now, what's your turnaround time for actually students being hired once they start the apprenticeship?
Once we've identified a candidate, it takes approximately, we like to allow 1 month to 60 days, but it takes at least a month to do all of the onboarding. So we usually try to recruit while they're in their program. We'll let, you know, when we have openings, say we have openings for a PCT apprentice, we'll let them know, you know, we have 2 openings on this unit, and they'll start talking to their students that are currently in the program about the opportunity. That way, as they're finishing up their program, they can also be onboarding and come straight to us. That way, there's not a lot of break in between finishing up their program and coming to us.
That is awesome. Now, what's next as we wrapping up? What's next for apprenticeships at MD Anderson Hospital?
Well, we're going to have some culinary apprentices starting as chefs very soon. That's next. Hopefully, that will be in the next month or so that they'll be onboarding. That's our next pathway. We will also be establishing an endoscopy technician program pathway. in the spring, and that will actually be the first one in the nation. So
Wow. Okay.
that's going to be a big deal.
That's a big deal. That is absolutely a big deal. Well, that is wonderful. And again, it's really great that HCC can partner with, larger entities and be very beneficial to help them with their workforce. It's really great. Her name is Miranda Phillips. She is Program Director for Workforce Innovations in the Education and Training Department for MD Anderson Cancer Center. Thank you so much, Miranda, for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, and as you get more people, please come back on the show. We'd love to talk to you guys about what you're doing in the near future as well, okay?
And we would love to brag about it. We're very thankful for this partnership with HCC. It has been very effective, and we hope to see it grow. This time next year, we'll be talking about a lot of different pathways, I'm sure.
Sounds good. We're looking forward to it. Thank you so much, Dr. Phillips.
Thank you.
We're going to take a short break right now, and then Nakia will get some insight into this partnership from the perspective of HCC. Stay tuned.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move. So I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
Hi, I'm Bob Euchre. I was 5 years old when Lou Gehrig gave his famous Luckiest Man speech. Lou retired from baseball that day because of the devastating disease known as ALS. Back then, I never imagined I would one day grow up to be a Major League Baseball player or spend my life in baseball. And I certainly didn't imagine that ALS would take my daughter Leanne's life and another close friend. ALS robs a person of their ability to walk, talk, eat, and breathe. It's been 8 decades since Lou's speech, and we still don't have a cure. But we are making progress turning ALS from a fatal disease into a livable one, and we need your help to finally strike out ALS. Please join us in the fight by visiting als.org. Thank you.
For over 100 years, Rotary members have taken action when challenges arise. We know what people can do when they come together and put others before themselves.
The team lead said they will continue the campaign to fight against the coronavirus.
Local Rotary clubs deliver food and supplies to people in need.
Strangers become friends, helping hands multiply, and problems turn into solutions. We are Rotary. We are people of action. Learn more at rotary.org/action.
Welcome back to the New World Workforce. I am Nakia Edwards, and in our first segment, we looked at MD Anderson and HCC's partnership for healthcare apprenticeships. So we're joined today by Dr. Christina Robinson, who is the HCC's Executive Director for Work-Based Learning, Contract Training, and Industry Partnerships. HCC always has these long titles, don't they? So that's a lot. That's a lot on your plate, isn't that right, Dr. Robinson?
That is, but it's a great opportunity at the same time.
Most definitely, most definitely. So, just to dive right into it, what is the role that apprenticeships like the one with MD Anderson play in a holistic education HCC provides?
Absolutely. Well, I think the biggest thing is it gives individuals an opportunity to learn on the job while they're going to school, right? And in many cases, it allows individuals to say, you know what, I love this, or this is not what I thought I wanted to do. And so we catch them ahead of time so they're not spending all of that money and realizing 4 years down the road that healthcare isn't what they chose, right? So not only that, but it also allows them to make money and get benefits while they're going to school, which is an amazing opportunity. I talked to we just placed an individual, she's 18 years old, and she's already with benefits, with a full-time position while she's in school, making $18 an hour, no tuition cost for her. And I'm like, if you just stick it in there, and keep going, you're going to be set by the time you're 40.
Right.
And, I know it's hard to see when you're 18, but I'm like, what an amazing opportunity. She'll be a nurse probably in a couple of years because that's her goal. But she's already at a top tier hospital. What an amazing opportunity.
Yeah, and it's great to see students kind of fired up for the fields that they choose. So that's awesome work that you're doing over there. Why do you think apprenticeships are particularly important for healthcare careers?
Sure. Well, for us, healthcare was kind of a new area. We've done a lot of work in the trades, but what we know is over 795,000 individuals are short right now in the nursing profession. So the only way we're going to be able to fill those spots is if we pipeline individuals. And so when we sat down with numerous hospitals, PCAs, PCTs, CNAs, all of those are pathways to nursing. So if we can get them in now and get them in an apprenticeship, they're already in the hospital, understanding how the hospital works while they're in school. And that is the perfect transition into a nursing role. And in many cases, the client will say, you know what, this person is amazing. I want to put them in my ICU unit because they're so good. And those are opportunities that many people wouldn't even have until they were done with nursing school. We're giving them the opportunity up front.
Wow, that's awesome. And what are some areas where apprenticeships are offered that people may not expect?
Sure. Well, as I mentioned earlier, trades is what people typically think of as an apprenticeship, but we have IT, we have human resources, culinary, as Dr. Phillips mentioned. Really, the world is your oyster when it comes to apprenticeships. We can truly create everything. We have 37 current apprenticeships right now. We're about to add 5 more, one being solar tech. Solar green energy is really hot right now. So when companies come to us, they tell us a couple of things. They say, I need people, and I need them to be able to do these things.
Right.
And they need to be certified in this area. And so we say, great, how do we package that so that we can then send somebody to you that has that skill set and can ultimately have a long-term career with the organization? So we have the custom build, or we can pull it straight from our package that we already have.
That sounds awesome. And so I guess in this next question, it says that HCC students often have obligations outside of their educational life. How does HCC help balance all of those responsibilities?
Sure. Well, we work with both the employer as well as the student, and then we have support services, right? So every student has a career navigator that's going to work with them through their program. They also have a talent coach that's going to work with them through their program. We're fortunate enough that we are able to pay and cover things like bus passes and gas cards, books, tuition. So by being able to cover those costs and making it so much more affordable for students, it really gives them the opportunity to focus on what's important, school and work, and not stress about having to come up with money for school.
And I think the big question is, how do students apply for an apprenticeship?
Absolutely. hccs.edu/apprenticeship hub. That's HUB. And they can go on there, and if they are a career seeker, meaning they're age 18 and up, they're going to click career seeker and become an apprentice. If they're a youth, meaning 16 to 18 years old, they're going to click youth, and we will get them in the youth program. So either option. And I just want to throw it out there, if they're an employer, we also have that opportunity for employers that want to engage and bring in apprentices. And as you all mentioned earlier, anywhere from 1 year up to 5 years in some cases. So we're happy to sit down with anybody and help them get set up.
Awesome. And you mentioned youth. What's the difference between the two?
Sure. So youth is primarily focused on pre-apprenticeship pathways. So those could be anywhere from like 2 weeks to 3 months, kind of like a mini, we call a micro apprenticeship, right? So a short-term apprenticeship, we call it a pre-apprenticeship. And then upon graduation from high school, they can roll straight into the full-blown apprenticeship with the organization.
Wow. So you actually take high school students for the youth program, and then college students for obviously the apprenticeship program. Wow. What type of student is successful at apprenticeships?
Sure, one that understands that it's a commitment. We sit down with the students and this is a real job. They're making real wages and they're paying real taxes. So, at the end of the day, they have to show up on time. They have to make sure they communicate with their supervisor. But we have a really cool app that we communicate. It's called Work Hands, and we work directly with the students through the app. Their supervisors use the app as well. So it's really just keeping people on track. And if they're disciplined enough to show up on time to work and listen to instructions, they can be successful.
Oh, that's pretty awesome. Now, so what results have you seen from their apprenticeship program? Has there been some, what type of outcomes you got?
Sure. I think the number one outcome is where we have employers saying, hey, do they have to finish the apprenticeship or can we just move them on now into a different capacity, right? Because those apprenticeships, as I mentioned, are a year, but in some cases, employers are like, you know what, do they have to stay a whole year in this role or can I move them into a different capacity? And obviously we want them moved within the organization. So the benefit of apprenticeship in a competency-based scenario is that as they learn skills successfully, they're able to move within different areas while they're still in their apprenticeship. In addition to that, I think the biggest thing, and MD Anderson stated this as well, is that the success is being seen, and so now they're implementing it across other divisions, right? And the loyalty, when you get a brand new person and you're investing in them, wages, benefits, training, they know that you're valuing them as an employee, and when you get them in on the front end, it makes a huge difference.
Wow, that's awesome. I think that and the enthusiasm that Dr. Phillips showed earlier in the earlier segment showed that she was really happy with what we're doing. I think it is important to make sure we have those good relationships with these apprentices, and as she stated earlier, they're start with one and then she's building to others. So that's pretty awesome. Awesome stuff.
Yes, as a matter of fact, one of their apprentices is going to be speaking at our apprenticeship summit in November, specifically on their role as an apprentice. So, that is also a great recognition. And recently we won the National Workforce Executive Council Award for Best Apprenticeship Program. So, there's a lot of great things happening in the apprenticeship world right now.
That's really awesome work. And there's nothing less to expect from you, Dr. Robinson. We appreciate you. And it's been awesome speaking with you again and in this role as well. So thank you so much for joining us today, Dr. Robinson. And if you and tell them how they can sign up again.
Sure. hccs.edu/apprenticeship hub.
Awesome. And if you like more information on the people and organizations featured today, check the post on our social media sites and YouTube. To download a copy of our audio podcast version of the show, visit hccs.edu/podcast. For my co-host Parrish Murphy and everyone here at HCC TV, I think I'm added a C, right? HCC TV. I'm Nakia Edwards, and thank you so much for joining us at New World Workforce.
There's nearly 678,290,000 kids under 5 around the world. But what's so important about being 5? A lot, it turns out. Children who live to age 5 are twice as likely to reach adulthood. That's why vaccines matter so much. For 40 years, Rotary and partners have delivered vaccines globally. Like here, and even here. Impressive, right? But 12.5 million children are still totally unvaccinated. Rotary knows we can find them. Because when Rotary and Indian vaccinators looked for families at bus and train stations, used motorbikes, and trekked house to house, they lowered polio cases by 94%. See, it can be done, and the results are worth it. Let's ensure that all children, grow up safe from preventable diseases.
Dear Santa, I hope you are having a good day in the North Pole. Is it cold all the time there? Is that why your cheeks are so rosy? I bet all of your reindeer are very excited.
All right, guys.
Is your beard long? My dad's is scratchy. My mom says I'm a good helper. But you didn't come last year. Was my chimney broken? Or did you forget? I do that sometimes. I just really hope this year when I wake up, I'm gonna see that you came to my house too.
Donate to Toys for Tots and help the Marines deliver hope to a child in need.
It's hard to imagine that this powerful, beautiful animal needs our help. But they are being killed for their skin and bones, and their homes are being destroyed. Tigers are at the heart of so many delicate ecosystems. When you protect a tiger, you also protect thousands of species and people that rely on the same habitat. Learn how you can make a difference.
Art is hard.
But not as hard as living in an over-policed community.
Art is hard.
But not as hard as accessing mental health resources.
Art is hard.
But not as hard as being uprooted by gentrification.
At Artistic Noise, art creates a community for system-impacted youth
to be seen
and heard.
Learn more at artisticnoise.org.
Dear humans, I stand here today not for myself, but for every tail wagger, sloppy kisser, and curtain ninja. I stand here for each one of the thousands of dogs and cats killed in shelters each day, asking you to join our cause and help us make sure every best friend has a chance to meet one of their own. With Best Friends Animal Society leading the charge, and your help, we can save them all.
In America, millions of families are facing hunger.
After rent and power, I can get groceries. It's sad to say food comes last. Anna from Texas. The Feeding America network of food banks helps provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Together, we can end hunger. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
My dad was my hero. I wanted to do something to help people just like he did. A few years ago, he was diagnosed with cancer from doing search and recovery at Ground Zero in the aftermath of 9/11. I was holding his hand when he took his last breath. I didn't want to let him go. First Responders Children's Foundation gave me a scholarship that changed my life. I wanted my dad to be proud of me. I'm a nurse now.
Help first responders and their families.